Why is breadcrumbing so hard to see? And why does it happen to so many of us women? One of the reasons is that it's intentionally hidden. If you're married to a wolf in sheep's clothing, it's almost impossible to identify. It's a little easier to see if your husband's wounded and dysfunctional rather than toxic and dangerous. Another reason it's confusing to know if and when you're being breadcrumbed is because you can't see the motive of another person's heart. So we end up trying to analyze what's impossible for us to see and figure out. What I mean is that a woman's at a disadvantage in her marriage when she uses her 5 senses intentionally to gather information. The senses of sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell, they're all linear and at a conscious level. This is the primary operating system for a man because it's direct and linear. That's what makes it single focused, and that's masculine thinking. Our primary operating system is more like that 6th sense. You've heard that saying that women have a 6th sense. We do. It's our feelings and emotions. They're powerful for us because they live in estrogen, and that's our hormone, not testosterone like men who have got a way less capacity for that 6th sense. It's not that they don't have feelings and emotions. Obviously they do, but their experience isn't like ours. It's not as deep or complex when it comes to relationships. It can be, but their high levels of testosterone make it more difficult for them to access their feelings and emotions. When any of our 5 senses receive messages, each of those senses have their own distinct channel inside the brain. So when you hear someone speak, that message can only travel on the channel of hearing, or if you read the words instead of hearing them, then only on the channel of vision. But in contrast to a single pathway for each individual response, when it comes to nonverbal communication, it's actually pretty cool. It involves all 5 channels at the same time. You've heard me say that men are single vision focused, but women exist in diffuse awareness. This is how we do it. Diffuse awareness isn't just another way to say 6th sense. It's really not an extra sense. It's a misnomer, right? It's all of the senses experienced at the same time, so it just seems like it's an extra sense. In the context of relationship, women have more capacity to be able to easily be engaged in that nonverbal communication because it's feelings based. I've got a couple videos where I talk about the difference between the single vision focus of men and the diffuse awareness that women live in. I'll link them in the description box and put them in the cards for you. My point is that when God created you, He gave you all that estrogen, and if you want your one flesh relationship to be experienced the way He intended it to be, you have to learn to live in your feminine feelings. We think better when we feel first. It's our feelings that we have to learn to identify with. The masculine way of thinking is to analyze first and then allow the feelings to surface. If you watched the Christmas special by Angel Studios, this is captured perfectly when Joseph delivers Jesus. It's an incredible scene. Joseph is taking care of business first. Then, after he saw that Mary was okay, there was this surge of emotions that he couldn't access while he was in protector mode. That's how it always works with the masculine. They do the good action first. Whatever that action is, then the good feelings come as the defenses are lowered. We do the opposite. Feeling first is our primary system of self-identification and self-protection. It's the first step for us women in relationship is to feel safe. It's not if you think you're safe or if you believe that you're safe. That's masculine thinking because you've already landed on the outcome without taking your feelings into account. It's the order of the process that we have to learn. It's the order of the process that's so important. You need that so you can feel if your husband is actually cleaving to you or if he's breadcrumbing you. In its most basic explanation, breadcrumbs are done for you. It's the opposite of cleaving to you. Remember in part 1 I said to hang on to those words because they factor into this whole series. They're the structure of the concept. Understanding the difference between being cleaved to and having breadcrumbs done for you will help you learn to feel the truth instead of looking for it by using those 5 senses to analyze for truth. Learning to feel and accept those feelings from your inner girl is how you quiet the masculine mindset that wants you to operate with that single-focused thinking. So even though we start with acknowledging a piece of information, it doesn't mean that you analyze it first. You're always going to start with receiving a piece of information, but it's your response to that information that matters. The real wisdom happens when you know how and when to move into feeling your own personal experience, feeling the exchange. The better you know yourself, the more you're healed, the more fluid this movement becomes. I want to encourage you again to try and not look at the man's actions or consider him at all. Resist asking why he did it or why he's doing it or why it's happening to you. There's no solution for your healing by drilling down on what your husband's doing wrong to you. Being able to identify what he needs to heal, change, or fix, it's not going to help your girl heart. She's the one who needs all your attention, not him.